Hello, my name is Dane Waters. I'm the chairman and founder of the Initiative and Referendum Institute at the University of Southern California, and I'm honored to be the chair of the Punjab Referendum Commission. We're gathered here today to talk about the Punjab Referendum Commission, what our role is, what we expect to do, and why we're involved, and to give a little bit of information about our background. I've been involved in direct democracy issues for over 30 years. I've done everything from putting issues directly on the ballot to monitoring initiative and referendum elections around the world, helping draft constitutions that include initiative and referendum provisions. Have written books on the issue. So my entire life, I've been involved in direct democracy in some form. I believe that it is one of the most important tools that the world has to be a check and balance on government, and also to ensure that peaceful resolution of conflict around the world. And that goes into why I'm involved in the Punjab Referendum Commission. That is because regardless of the issue, regardless of what people are trying to accomplish, I do believe that that people should have the right to self-determination. But what's most important is that if anyone wants to utilize the right to self-determination, that they do it in a way that meets international norms and procedures. And that's why the Punjab Referendum Commission was established, to help the proponents of the Punjab referendum to figure out the best way to ensure that their efforts meet international norms and procedures. But there's a couple of things that I want to make very clear up front. As an individual and as a commission, we do not take any position whatsoever on the Seeks for Justice and the Punjab referendum and the underlying issues associated with it. We are involved as experts on direct democracy because we believe that direct democracy is the ultimate tool to be used for peaceful resolution of conflict around the world, number one. Number two, the purpose of this commission is to monitor the actual election when the election takes place, when the voting takes place. We are not responsible for voter registration. We are not responsible for choosing the dates and locations for the voting to take place. But we will work with the referendum proponents to establish the voting guidelines when people actually show up to cast their votes. The other requirement or the other responsibility that the commission has is that we will be solely responsible for announcing the results of the election. We will ensure that there's a process in which all the vote tallies go to us. And when all the voting is finished, we will be the ones who issue the election results. In addition to issuing the election results, we will have election monitors at each of the polling locations, and that we will also at the same time issue our interim report about how we believe that the referendum voting was actually carried out. The voting will begin on August 15th of 2021 in London. Now, we all know that the coronavirus is something that we have to live with each and every day. But as of now, the first voting is going to take place on August 15th, 2021 in London. Specific details about that election will be made available as soon as we have the specifics. Once again, we're working around, or the proponents of the referendum are working around all the requirements associated with COVID-19 quarantines around the world. We have established a website for the commission. It's punjabreferendumcommission.org, punjabreferendumcommission.org. Please go there. You'll find additional information about the referendum. And as we get more information about the process and about the voting, we will be putting it there. Anyway, that's the intro to the commission. We're excited to be involved. I'm honored to be able to serve as chairman. And I'd like to say up front that collectively, all of us have over 125 years of experience in direct democracy. Not a single one of us have individually 125 years of experience in direct democracy, but collectively, we do have that amount of experience, give or take a year or two. So now what I'd like to do is turn it over to the commission members, for each one of them to introduce themselves, and then I'll say a few words at the ending. So I'm going to turn it over to Paul Jacob. Paul, take it away.
My name's Paul Jacob. I first got involved with direct democracy, initiative, referendum, working for term limits. And term limits in the United States of America was and is an incredibly popular issue. It turns out it's popular all over the world, but it's very difficult to get politicians to term limit themselves. And so the ability to collect signatures and put this issue to the voters, who it's our view should be the ultimate decision makers in society, the only way to get term limits was to do that, to put it to the voters. And we did it in 1992 in 14 states. It was the most states to ever vote on a single issue in a single election in the United States. And then we did it again in 1996, again, put 14 state measures on the ballot. In 1992, we won them all, won most of them in 1996. And that was really my first experience with direct democracy. And I think it continues to be one of the best examples for why sometimes representative democracy or other forms of government just cannot get the sort of reforms that are needed, because the people who have their hands on the levers have their own interests that might diverge from the people. After working for term limits, I started a group called Citizens in Charge at the urging and prodding of one Dane Waters. And I have worked for the last 20 years on initiative and referendum, trying to expand it, but that has been very difficult because powerful interests, whether they're from the left and public employee unions, or from the right and their big business interests, they have an interest in the status quo. And so it's been very difficult to expand it. And we have also had to work very hard to protect it. But one of the things that we have in the United States is widespread initiative referendum. Half the states basically have it. Most of the cities in the country have it. But we have absolutely nothing at the national level. And so in working internationally with groups like Democracy International and with the global forums, it's really been a learning experience to see how much this is used around the world. It's being used more, and how important it is. And so initially seeing how important it is at the local level, somewhat being surprised at this political device that was just critical to a simple reform, and then looking internationally and seeing how important it is on very tough, complex issues like self-determination. And I think that I'm excited about being involved in the Punjab Referendum Commission because it's a step. And this is not a nation that's holding an official referendum, but it is people working toward that goal and working toward using direct democracy in a way that will, I think, lead to more peaceful and popular outcomes. And so this is something that we are the referees here. We're counting the votes and looking at the process. And so we don't have an interest, as Dane mentioned, in whether it's a yes vote or a no vote, but that it is as fair and as free a vote as possible, and that the process is welcoming to as many people who want to participate as possible. And just to wrap it up, I think this is one small step, and there are steps all over the world being taken. And I think that what happens in any place helps to move the ball forward for democracy around the world. And I'm hoping some of that will bounce back and help those of us in the United States to expand our own democracy.
Thanks, Paul. Now I'd like to turn over to Bruno Kaufmann for a few words.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bruno Kaufmann. I'm very pleased to be on this commission. I'm myself a citizen of Switzerland and a citizen of Sweden and a citizen of the European Union. And in this capacity, I have been eligible to be a voter in more than 1,000 cases, initiatives, referendums, elections in the last 30 years. And the most interesting experience I have had with that is that I lost most of these elections and referendums, but I'm still very happy with the possibility to be a voter. And I think this is the key of democracy, that the democracy doesn't produce winners and losers, but produce results which everybody can live with and which everybody can also be happy if it doesn't go like he or she would like to do it. And for this, you need an infrastructure, you need a regulation, and you need a proper process. And this is exactly what I would like to contribute to in this process of the Punjab Referendum Commission. I have been a chairman of an election commission in a Swedish city for many years, and it was always the most exciting moments to count the votes, to prepare for the votes, to educate those who are conducting the vote. It's all about this infrastructure. And in fact, if democracy is done correctly, you don't have to be afraid about losing or winning, but you can be really proud to conduct this process, to be part of this process, and to set an issue on the agenda which maybe otherwise wouldn't be there. So I'm looking forward to be a member of this commission. I'm looking forward to this process, and I wish all of us and you good luck.
Thank you, Bruno. Appreciate that. We will now go to Matt. Go ahead, Matt. It's all yours. Take it away.
Thank you. Well, I'm showing my age when I say how long I've been interested in direct democracy. Since 1980, I have been interested in that. When I was just a wee little boy, I lived in Canada at the time, and Quebec had a referendum on whether they should become independent. I then wrote an essay at school, and my teacher got very upset about the idea that a part of the country that I lived in would want to secede, and said that in my essay I had to explain when they should be given this right and why they were given this right at all. Also, why they voted the way they do, or did in that particular case. They voted no. That basically started my obsession with referendums and direct democracy. On the basis of that essay I wrote as a 12-year-old, I later went on to university to go to law school to look at the regulations of that, to eventually do a PhD in political science on the subject of referendums. And on the basis, again, of my childhood obsession, which has now become my adulthood obsession and is moving into becoming my life crisis obsession, if you like, I have been involved in writing books about referendums, in helping governments, the UK government before we had our Brexit referendum, the Scottish government before they had the independence referendum, and also the referendum in South Sudan before they became independent. My focus has generally been on the intersection between national self-determination and referendum, or the feelings of ethnic belonging, if you like, and referendum, and how these things sometimes come into conflict. Latterly, I'm interested in the regulation of referendums, when they're fair, how they can be made fairer, and what to do and not to do to make sure that the result reflects the will of the people or the population that votes. It is my fundamental belief that referendums are a tool to ascertaining what the views of the people are. Sometimes the referendum is the end of the process. It marks where the people say we want to either secede or not secede, we want to be part of a particular union, not part of a union, or we want to be part of a particular thing. But sometimes referendums are also just a way of finding out what people actually think about a subject. And I think it's always better that people can freely speak out, can freely say what they believe and what they don't believe. And that is a process which is infinitely preferable to one where people are fighting over it. So my fundamental reason for being involved in all of this is that I believe we should start voting and that we should stop fighting.
Very well said, Matt. I appreciate that. Last but not least, the smartest one of all of us, Yanina, turn it over to you.
So yeah, hello everybody. It's my pleasure also to join this commission. As my colleagues said before, I also do believe that political participation is absolutely important, central to promote democracy and to sustain democracy. I was born in Argentina shortly before the country moved to a dictatorship. So my early childhood was in a dictatorship. Later on, I moved to Spain, which also has a tradition of dictatorships. In Latin America and in the south of Europe, most of the countries moved to democracy during the 80s and 90s. However, political participation is restricted to electing representatives. And I do believe, as all the colleagues said before, and especially Bruno Kaufmann, that to have the opportunity to vote in many issues reinforce democracy. I have been doing research in Switzerland for more than 12 years, and even if I do not have the opportunity to vote as a foreigner, something also which needs to be discussed and improved in the country, I do believe that direct democracy is key to defend democracy in the future and to offer peaceful solutions to conflicts such as this one in the Punjab.
Thank you, Nina, for those encouraging words. So just to sum everything up, as we all discussed, we are here because we want to help. Our goal is to help and to provide whatever guidance and support that we can to ensure that the practice of direct democracy is done within international norms and procedures. But the other thing I'd like to say is that no referendum is perfect. That's something that no democracy is perfect. No political system is perfect. But we all have to live in a world where we understand what the underlying reason for the referendum is to be held around the world. And so all I ask is that people take in consideration that whatever referendum that you participate in, whatever referendum that you support, or whatever referendum you want, that you understand that the most important thing is to think, why was that referendum being considered in the first place? And not lose sight of that as you look through the process of the actual referendum taking place. Once again, thank you for your time today. You can find out more information at punjabreferendumcommission.org. That is punjabreferendumcommission.org. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.